gentleman from New York is recognized to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment does a simple but very important restriction on the ability of a retired officer to purchase a retired firearm from his or her agency. And that is to limit the number of firearms purchased by such officer to one. This bill does nothing to prohibit an officer from purchasing any number of firearms from his agency or her agency, and then with the possibility of distributing them or selling them to others outside of the normal background check requirements for federal firearms sellers. By limiting the number of firearms to one, I believe that we are getting to the true purpose of this bill, which is to allow retired officers to maintain a firearm that they used, if in good standing, while in service. And if the rationale is, as my friend from South Carolina says, which is to simply allow retired officers to continue to hold and possess their own firearm from while they were in service, there should be no objection to limiting the number of firearms to one. I think this amendment is eminently reasonable, gets to the heart of what the bill drafter is trying to get to, and very importantly, limits the possibility of further distribution of firearms without adhering to the guidelines that protect selling firearms and putting them in the hands of those who should not have them. And I yield back.
All right, how about the gentleman who brought the amendment?
Well, I appreciate the distinguished gentleman from Florida's point, which I think goes even further. It is one thing for an on-duty officer to maintain a pistol, a long gun, and a shotgun while in the service of duty. It is altogether another thing for a retired officer who would not be on any mission or any obligation to act to protect anyone other than him or herself to have 3 guns. What is the point? If this is just so that a retired officer can defend him or herself with the gun, a gun that he or she used while in service, why on earth would that officer need more than 1 gun?
Would the gentleman yield for a question?
Yes, of course.
Is there anything in their legislation that would prevent a retired officer from reselling a gun or guns that they are able to purchase at the new salvage value?
There is nothing in this bill that prohibits the distribution or selling of a firearm obtained by a retired officer from the agency where he or she served.
So you're telling me that a retired officer, if we don't accept your amendment, could purchase 5 guns or 10 guns or 20 guns at the new government discounted price and then resell them at a fair market value price? In other words, they could make money on it through private sales. Is that right?
Absolutely, and even worse, it wouldn't be detected. It wouldn't go through, it wouldn't be required to go through the normal background check procedures, the tracing through the ATF to ensure that that sold gun does not fall into hands of someone who would otherwise be prohibited from owning a gun.
If I could ask one other question of the distinguished gentleman from New York, it seems to me that we either have to adopt your amendment, and this is certainly consistent with the way that Ms. Demings first brought this up, that it was the idea that the officer would be able to purchase their gun when they leave the service, and that was clearly her intent. Either we've got to adopt that, or if it's going to be unlimited, that they can purchase at salvage value whatever guns from the police force arsenal are being retired, then we've got to say that these guns cannot be resold on the private market, because otherwise we're opening up a gaping new loophole in terms of guns entering into the market. And of course, it's that kind of permissiveness and laxness that has given America a rate of homicide, violence, and death that is just unknown in the rest of the advanced countries of the world.
Will the gentleman yield?
I will yield in 1 second. I just want to respond. I actually considered an amendment to that effect as well. The problem, of course, is it is very hard to enforce, and it would certainly cost more than $8 million to do so. I'm kind of surprised that a justification for this bill is that we spend $8 million, not billion, not trillion, but $8 million, which is pennies compared to our budget, that is some sort of motivation for why we should allow the sale of these firearms to the officers. And again, there's no good rationale why it should be more than one. I yield to the chairman.
Just